Jungkook, the bird whisperer? Why ARMY thinks his soft scolding of a sparrow reveals a hidden side he never intended to show. Is it possible that a 39-second video of Jungkook feeding a tiny bird could tell us more about his personality than years of interviews, concerts, and documentaries combined? Or is the internet simply overanalyzing every gentle word that left his mouth that afternoon? Words that unexpectedly ignited a debate about soft parenting, paternal instincts, and the true nature of an idol who never stops surprising the world. These are the questions that millions of fans, casual viewers, and even behavioral commentators have been struggling to answer as one small clip of Jungkook BTS sitting on an outdoor terrace, quiet, sunlit, peaceful, turns into one of the most emotionally charged, virally debated moments in K-pop social media this week. What began as a cute fan-uploaded snippet on X, formerly Twitter, has evolved into a massive online phenomenon, a cultural moment, a fandom-wide discussion, and oddly enough, perhaps even a psychological case study, because somehow, impossibly, the way Jungkook spoke to a little bird has become the internet's newest obsession. The video, originally posted by @DreamJins and titled, "Proof that Jungkook is the purest human ever. He's feeding a bird and scolding it like it's his child," hit X on December 3rd and exploded instantly, collecting over 2,400 likes, 570 reposts, and more than 32,000 views in under a day. But what truly made people pause wasn't just the visual of Jungkook sharing a portion of his French fries. It wasn't even the adorable context of him sitting casually beside Jimin, both dressed in black, both relaxed, the late afternoon sunlight brushing against the gentle greenery behind them, and oh, what electrified the internet was how Jungkook spoke. The moment the little sparrow hopped too close, too boldly, and began poking at a stray piece of food, Jungkook's entire demeanor shifted into an expression that fans instantly labeled as a crossover between soft annoyance and overprotective dad energy. With a tone that wavered between admonishment and affection, he told the bird, "Hey, here," offering a larger fry with a hand that was both generous and gently instructive. But the sparrow, in the way small, fearless creatures often do, darted away. Jungkook frowned, not with real irritation, but with the kind of mock sternness parents often use when a child refuses to eat their vegetables or chooses chaos instead of cooperation. Then came the line heard across the entire internet. "You're not supposed to come like that because you're not synchronized with nature." Was it a joke? Was it instinct? Was it a moment of pure improvisation? Or was it, as ARMY would soon claim, a raw display of soft parenting disguised as casual banter? When another bird flew overhead, Jungkook continued, half laughing, half scolding, "Don't fly above when they're eating, okay?" And in that moment, the world collectively melted. Because who soft scolds birds like toddlers? Who gives nature a lecture with such gentleness, warmth, and sincerity? Who, if not Jungkook? This single interaction instantly revived discussions about the Golden Magne's long-documented love for animals, his deeply empathetic reactions to small creatures, and his signature mix of childlike wonder and unexpected maturity. But this time, the conversation went much further, because some fans began asking a question that, until now, only floated in the fandom as lighthearted jokes. Does Jungkook have paternal instincts? And if yes, is this something he's aware of or something he's unconsciously revealing? Others believed that the interaction was not about fatherhood or instincts at all, but rather about something more subtle, perhaps even more meaningful. They argued that his tone wasn't paternal but gentle disciplinary, a kind of modern, soft parenting that emphasizes emotional understanding, respect, and communication rather than strictness. According to them, Jungkook was not lecturing the bird but modeling the kind of empathetic communication he has developed both as a person and as a public figure navigating adulthood in the spotlight. But as with anything involving global superstars, not everyone agreed. Within hours, a counter-discussion emerged. Some netizens claimed that the interpretation of the moment as paternal was exaggerated, even intrusive. They argued that the idol was simply being playful and that projecting fatherly traits onto him, especially in such an ordinary, casual setting, was an unnecessary romanticization. A few voices insisted that Jungkook was performing or leaning into a persona, albeit unintentionally. Others suggested the fandom was reading too deeply into natural behavior, and thus a new, unexpected question emerged. Was Jungkook being genuinely himself, or was the internet simply too obsessed with decoding every look, every movement, every soft breath he makes? Yet the more people watched the clip, the more opinions multiplied, because in the quiet moment of that outdoor terrace, burger wrappers crinkling softly in the breeze, Jimin smiling casually beside him, the golden sunset washing over. The scene, Jungkook didn't look like a global superstar, a Grammy nominee, or one of the most influential cultural figures of his generation. He looked like a young man at peace, connecting with the world in his own gentle, uniquely Jungkook way, and perhaps that is what struck fans the most. This was not a highly produced performance. It wasn't a staged commercial. It wasn't a behind-the-scenes cut engineered for a specific public image. It felt raw, effortless, unfiltered, something he didn't intend for the world to analyze or even see. Something that existed simply because he is who he is. Many army. That makes the moment infinitely more precious. Replies flooded the original post instantly. Scolding a sparrow cutely, wrote at BTS_FIVAIA. Another fan joked, but you said you wanted to be part of their family, JK. Someone else commented, the bird flew in front of him. His reaction. Another concluded the entire situation with two of the purest words possible. Pure heart. This wasn't just nostalgia, it was revelation. It wasn't merely comfort, it was connection. It wasn't simply cute, it was symbolic. And in a digital landscape fatigued by manufactured drama, harsh algorithms, and endless cycles of controversy, a tiny bird and a gentle idol momentarily restored softness to the internet. This leads us to the final, and perhaps most haunting, question of all. Why does such a small moment feel so big? Why does Jungkook feeding a sparrow feel like newsworthy emotional content in a world overflowing with noise? Maybe it's because the world misses genuineness. Maybe it's because fans miss the warmth of BTS's shared everyday life. Maybe it's because Jungkook, intentionally or not, constantly reminds us that tenderness is powerful, that kindness is captivating, and that even in silence, he creates stories. Or maybe, just maybe, people aren't reading too much into it. Maybe the moment really does reveal something he wasn't trying to hide. Maybe he is nurturing, gentle, instinctively guiding, even when he doesn't realize it. Maybe he truly is, as fans lovingly call him today, the bird dad. And as this clip continues to spread and discussions evolve, one thing is certain. This will not be the last time a small, fleeting gesture from Jungkook turns into a global conversation. Because when the world is watching someone so naturally captivating, even the smallest actions echo loudly. And maybe that's the magic of him. A man who can turn feeding a tiny bird into the most talked about moment of the week. If a sparrow can bring out this much emotion, curiosity, and speculation, what will Jungkook accidentally reveal next? But is this truly just about a bird? Or is the world witnessing something far deeper? Something quietly unfolding beneath Jungkook's public silence. Something that even he may not fully recognize in himself. The more the clip circulates, the more analysts, fans, and casual observers find themselves pulled into a surprisingly deep reflection. Why is the world so eager to see fatherly instincts in Jungkook? Why do people cling so tightly to the idea that behind the superstar persona lies a tender, instinctively nurturing soul? And why, of all things, has a sparrow become the spark that reignites this fascination? As discussions spread across online forums, fan cafes, and global social media platforms, one common thread emerges. People are emotionally hungry for gentleness. In a digital era defined by aggressive headlines, tense debates, and exhausting scandals, this moment with Jungkook feels like a rare pocket of grace. It is the reminder people didn't know they were craving. A moment that feels human in a world that often feels anything but. ARMY in particular understands the weight of such moments. They have watched Jungkook grow from a shy boy on a small stage in Seoul to a global icon whose presence alone can shift algorithms, dominate charts, and fill stadiums in minutes. They have seen him harden through challenges, soften through hardships, and ultimately emerge as a complex balance of confidence and vulnerability. But what fans rarely see are glimpses of his unguarded tenderness, moments when he isn't performing, pretending, or polishing a specific image. This is exactly why the bird moment hits differently, because for a split second, the world sees Jungkook the human rather than Jungkook the phenomenon, and maybe that is why the debate turns surprisingly philosophical. Commentators question whether celebrity culture has conditioned fans to interpret every small gesture as a clue to a larger narrative. Others argue that Jungkook's authentic warmth naturally invites emotional decoding. Meanwhile, some netizens insist that this is simply who he is, a young man with a quiet kindness he has carried from the beginning. Yet the more people watch the clip, the more they begin to notice its layers. There is the soft frustration in his voice, the amused sigh hiding behind his laughter, the protective undertone when he warns the birds not to interrupt others eating, the instinctive offer of food. Despite the birds' chaotic energy, the way he continues speaking to the animals long after many people would have shooed them away. These are not the gestures of someone pretending. These are the reflexes of someone whose empathy flows naturally, unconsciously, effortlessly. And with that observation, a new question rises. If this is Jungkook unfiltered, what does that say about the version of him the world rarely gets to see? Psychology enthusiasts in online communities begin analyzing his demeanor from a behavioral perspective. Some argue that his tone reflects a nurturing archetype, an emotional caregiver who responds to chaos with patience rather than irritation. Others compare his reaction to modern parenting methods designed to guide rather than scold, to communicate rather than command. They point out how his language resembles gentle correction rather than discipline, emotional guidance rather than authority. But what truly fuels the emotional storm is not the analysis. It is the uncertainty, because the truth is, no one knows whether Jungkook was conscious of what he was doing. No one knows whether he meant to sound fatherly, playful, or philosophical. No one knows whether he was teasing, joking, or instinctively expressing care. The ambiguity becomes a playground for interpretations, each shaped by the viewer's hopes, emotions, and personal relationships with Jungkook's public persona. And as the video continues to ripple across the internet, something fascinating begins to happen. People start sharing stories of how his gentle tone reminded them of their own parents. Stories of how his playful reprimand made them laugh during a difficult day. Stories of how his connection with nature brought back memories they thought they had forgotten. Stories of how, for just a moment, they felt comforted by someone they have never met. Jungkook, without knowing it, becomes a vessel of shared warmth in a world that desperately needs it. Even journalists begin to pick up the story, framing it not as trivial celebrity gossip, but as a cultural phenomenon. They question why soft masculinity has become so rare that a simple scolding of a bird feels revolutionary. They explore how parasocial relationships have evolved, how idols become emotional symbols, how moments of tenderness become viral currency. Meanwhile, ARMY circles back to the underlying question: is Jungkook's nurturing instinct accidental? Or is it a window into who he is becoming? Because Jungkook is not the teenage trainee the world met years ago. He is a man who has lived through pressures, losses, triumphs, and transformations that few people can imagine. He has endured military service, navigated global fame, survived emotional scrutiny, and developed an identity that continues to unfold with each passing year. The sparrow moment becomes a metaphor. A small creature approaches him, awkwardly, clumsily, fearlessly. Instead of recoiling, he offers food. Instead of shooing it away, he speaks to it. Instead of ignoring it, he acknowledges its presence with warmth and gentle authority. I ask this not symbolically, the way Jungkook has always treated the world. It is this symbolic weight that keeps the conversation alive. Fans begin rewatching older content, revisiting moments when Jungkook interacted with animals, nature, or even children with a similar softness. They compile clips of him rescuing bugs, caring for pets, or speaking gently to younger trainees. They begin building a portrait of a man whose empathy translates into every corner of his life. Journalists join in, framing the moment as part of a larger narrative, one that follows Jungkook's journey from youthful innocence to quiet emotional maturity. They describe him as someone who embodies both strength and softness, discipline and playfulness, charisma and gentleness. The sparrow becomes the symbol of his duality. The global superstar who can command stadiums and the gentle soul who can't help but lecture a bird about table manners. Yet perhaps the most surprising development comes from international media outlets that begin questioning the cultural significance of the moment. They ask whether Jungkook represents a new form of global masculinity, one that values kindness over dominance, empathy over stoicism, communication over silence. They debate whether his influence might inspire a shift in the way young men express emotions, treat animals, or even parent in the future.